Hello friends, welcome to a special edition of Sailing Sarpedon. I'm Brian, and I will be going over some of our upcoming projects and kind of fill you on what's been going on with us for the last little bit. Most of you have noticed we haven't been online for the last few weeks. The delay in the videos, I do apologize, it was necessary. Fortunately, we did have an injury on the crew and involving a smashed finger in the companionway. Nothing was broken, but it did require us to go to the ER where both of us caught COVID. Not the best week of our lives because usually we try and take care of each other. We did the best we could and we got through it, but we are doing better now. Still got a little bit of a cough from time to time, but mostly doing well. This does mean we've been a little behind on the projects and definitely behind on the editing. We also had a trip already planned to go visit my dad for his 75th birthday up in Montana, see his new house. It's a beautiful place up in Montana. We hope to share some pictures from our trip. It was my first big trip out west since a kid, so we did sort of take a circuitous route through the western passages, and then back down to the southeast or southwest, so I could see some of the places and so we could experience those places together. Great time together, great journey, but does mean we are behind on the boat projects. We are still planning to get into the water as soon as possible. So to that end, we have several projects ahead of us. So let's kind of go over what we can expect over the next few videos. First one is we're going to tackle the battery upgrade. Then we have some upgrades to our Raymarine software, hardware, and network. Power and solar updates, some plumbing updates. We're going to replace the plumbing, remodel the head to make it more functional and more appealing. And then bottom paint for the boat, which as you recall is a requirement before you can get back in the water. And Amanda's got a great little project coming up with some facelift items in the galley. And then we're hoping to partner up with our good friend Captain Steve to do some replacement on the running rigging. That's the lines that help control the sails. He's going to hopefully kind of walk us through and figure out what we need to upgrade now, what we need to upgrade soon, and what can wait a little while. So let's start with the battery upgrade. As you may recall, we have a 12-volt battery system here on Sarpedon. The original batteries when we purchased were all lead acid. There was a starter battery, which is 12 volt, an auxiliary battery system, which was two 12 volts, and then the house bank, which was two 6-volt batteries tied together to make the house bank. We also have a 12-volt battery up in the bow that controls the windlass. It is a little separate from the rest of the system, but is still tied in. When we purchased Sarpedon, we knew that the house bank batteries, the two 6 volts, were past service life. They were actually swollen and needing to be removed, and that the house bank was running on the auxiliary bank. So to that end, we already knew right away we had to replace them, and we decided to upgrade to lithium iron phosphate. We put in four 12-volt 230 amp hour batteries. That next video will be all about that. When we purchased Sarpedon, our Raymarine system was limited to just the autopilot, which is a wheel-based autopilot, and a depth and speed tri-data sensor. During the survey, the depth sensor was not functioning, and the speed sensor, the depth sensor was not accurate and the speed sensor was not functioning. They are two separate transducers in the current system, so we are going to be making some updates to that by putting in two Axiom chart plotters. We're going to do an Axiom 9 and an Axiom 7 Plus RV. This is going to give us chart plotters at the nav station and at the helm. We're going to add in brand new wind, depth, and speed transducers so we can get accurate data on those. We also want to add some additional displays. So we're going to add a dedicated wind angle and speed display, and the I70S from Raymarine, which is their multifunction display, which can pull up all sorts of great data that you can scroll through on just the single screen. You may have noticed the radar on Sarpedon. It is a Raytheon radar. It is non-functional. So we're going to upgrade to a brand new Raymarine Doppler radar dome. to replace that old Raytheon. That'll tie into the Axiom 7 Plus. And for the real vision, the RV part of the Axiom 7 Plus, we are going to also be adding two RV220 3D sonar transducers. So these sonar transducers will give us real-time three-dimensional data of the ocean bottom. Um, Now, this will be very helpful when we're going into unknown anchorages or areas that might not be charted as well, or areas where there are sandbars known to shift. Also can help with finding wrecks. And when we're in moderate to deep water, it'll be very nice to be able to scan for schools of fish. Maybe look for that wahoo or tuna while we're out there on passages. Um, then we also are going to be replacing our radio with a Raymarine radio. It has a second handset location, so we can have a second handset out at the helm. And then we're also going to be adding an AIS transponder. So this will be both receive and transmit AIS with the Raymarine 700. And all of that information is going to be networked together on the Raymarine CTalk NG network, which is their proprietary NMEA type network. So looking forward to doing that video. It'll be a big techie video for those techie friends out there. Next, we're going to be talking about upgrading the power system. So when we put in those new batteries, they have a significant amount more energy, which means we need to get some better energy generation options. Running the engine is fine with the alternator to get some additional energy, but we don't want to run it all the time. In fact, our hope is at some point to get away from diesel altogether. So that's a way future plan, but that is something that we are wanting to do down the future. So first thing is to upgrade our solar. Currently, we have two 130 watt solar panels back on the solar arch. We get about 60 to 200 watts out of them together, depending upon the day. To put that in perspective, we're getting an average of about 500 to 800 watt hours of solar down here in Florida each day. That's okay, but that's not going to be real good for running all this additional lighting and upgrades and all of that. So we do want to upgrade them. So to that end, we've gotten two bifacial panels that are drop-in replacements for the solar panels we currently have. They'll fit on the arch, but that's what I mean by drop-in replacement. They're actually 1 inch all the way around, bigger than the current panels, but that's well within the spec of the current solar arch. Bifacial means they have solar cells on both sides. So the panels are actually 220 watt rated on the top surface, and then they get an additional 65 watts off of the bottom from reflected light, which means each panel can get about 285 watts at maximum, or 440 to 570 watt rating. And of course, that's under ideal conditions. We're not expecting to get that all the time, but it will be nice to see what we do get with Sarpedon's white Bimini, white Dodger, white deck paint, and reflected water. We think there's a good opportunity for us to get some good reflected light back onto that bottom surface. To that end, we want to reduce the risk of shading. So we're going to give each panel its own Victron Smart Solar Controller. That'll allow it to control each panel individually. And then we also have included the 712 Smart Battery Monitor plus Shunt to give us our data in real time on the batteries. We have a Blue Smart charger to assist with shore power charging when we're here in the yard. And then because we are kind of mixing lithium and lead for the time being, we do have an Orion 12 volt to 12 volt smart battery charger that will be running to the windlass battery that's up in the bow, and then an LIBIM 225 box that will talk between the lead and the lithium to help share charge depending upon who's getting what. The alternator will continue to charge the lead bank, and the lithium will be connected to the solar, and then the LIBIM will become the bridge between the two. Future state, we also hope to add a Servo GX to get better data, along with a display screen that gives more real-time data than the 712 does. Also, the Servo GX will be able to tie into the Raymarine NMEA network and give us some battery data directly on our chart plotter. So that's a future state. We'll also be wanting to add a Victron isolation transformer. It's a much better option than the current galvanic isolation options. And we want to add in a upgrade to our inverter to a multi-plus. But those are future states, so we'll be getting into those projects way down the future. For the plumbing updates, we're going to be replumbing the entire boat with PEX. So what we currently have are two flexible tanks, both port and starboard. Those go to the deck fills, and those filter down into a flexible tank in our keel. The keel tank is what actually all of the plumbing pulls from. So we will be maintaining the current lines from the port and starboard tanks to the keel, and coming out of that keel tank, we're going to connect into PEX plumbing for brand new filtration system, adding spin down filters and micron filters to protect the new pump. The new pump will be combined with an accumulator tank to help maintain pressure. And we're also going to be adding in a 12-volt hot water heater because currently there is not hot water on Sarpedon. So the 12-volt hot water heater will have its own accumulator tank, and because they do run 12-volt hot water heaters run at 140 degrees, we do have to add in a hydrostatic mixing valve to get that down to a safe temperature. We'll plumb all of that with PEX into the galley sink, where we're going to add a carbon water filter to deal with any plasticky taste or any other taste that may be off. So we have nice good drinking water here at the galley to drink and to cook with. And then we'll be replumbing with PEX to the brand new bidet and sink shower combo. We're also going to be future state adding in a additional line that will come in just ahead of the filtration, but after the tanks, that will allow us to run a pressurized line at the dock. We'll have a pressure regulator, and it will basically run city water on the boat when we're either at dock or in the yard for future state. This is sort of a more accurate view of how it's going to lay out inside the boat. We sort of figured out where everything's going to go. And then after the plumbing updates, or in conjunction with them, we'll also be doing a remodel of the head. Adding that bidet like we talked about, because you want to reduce your toilet paper usage while you're on a boat. And then we also need a new shower, so we decided to do a real big cosmetic upgrade in the head to add a shower, a handheld unit, and an elevated sink. Looking forward to sharing that with you. We're also going to be adding in a shower drain and sump. It is a wet head, so the shower is inside the bathroom. It's not a separate shower. And we look forward to sharing all of that with you. Okay, bottom paint. So as you recall, we have already sanded everything down to the barrier coat and to the primer coat. So currently the boat's sort of that mottled look on the outside. For the bottom paint, we're going to be going with the Pettit primer barrier coat in the gray. So we got a nice gray barrier coat that will prevent any water intrusion or osmotic blistering concerns. Keep the salt water on the outside and the air on the inside. That's kind of the idea. And then we'll be adding the unepoxy HRT, also from Pettit products, as the strike layer. This is if we do have a bottom strike, such as a reef or a rock or something like that. If we see red, we know we are almost to the barrier coat and it's time to get that repaired. And then we will be finishing off with a beautiful navy blue from the Odyssey paint series by Pettit. Odyssey seemed appropriate, especially for a boat named after a child of Poseidon. So continuing on, the running rigging will be our next step, hopefully doing some changes to some Dyneema or Dyneema type lines, and replacing some of the lines that wore out. And then the best part, splashing, getting her back in the water. we hope to wrap all of this up by the end of the month. We're hoping at the end of September to be ready to get back in the water, um, and start cruising around a little bit before we head back to Montana in October for another family visit. So those are all the videos coming over the next few weeks. Hopefully we will have some great content to share with you. We are um, getting, because we got behind on the videos, we are not quite in real time. So some of the battery footage was filmed back in June and July. Um, but as we get into the plumbing, that's being filmed in real time. So our hope is to get ahead of the videos enough that we can provide you content every 2 weeks as planned, um, and and get back on track. Appreciate everybody's patience. Appreciate all the new viewers. So glad you are all here on this journey with us. Remember to leave a like and a comment down below. And as we can tell from our stats, about 92% of the people watching our videos are not subscribers. So it really does help us for you to subscribe. If you are enjoying the content, want to be notified when we have new content, please, please, please hit that subscribe and notification bell so that we can let you know where we're at on this journey and bring you along with us. Thank you so much for all of you who've been there from the beginning. Thank you all so much to all of the ones who have joined us along the way. Please let us know in the comments down below what video you're most excited about, and if there's anything in particular you're wanting to learn more about, or anything we haven't shared a whole lot about in the past that you'd like to know more about, please let us know. We're also thinking about maybe doing a live chat sometime in the next couple months. I want to see if that's something you guys might be interested in, where we could kind of get together on YouTube and have a little chit chat. So let us know what you're interested in. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye, friends.